Good evening, Baruchim Abbaim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class is sponsored by Lui Nishmat Michael Ben Esther, I think it was. Tei Nishmatot Tzra V'Tzor Chaim Began Eden Ha'Inyonim Kol HaTzadikim VaChasidim. Amen ve'amen. I want to address tonight a subject that has to do with blessings. I'm sure many of us throughout our lives went to different chachamim or tzaddikim to get brachot. Rabbi, give me a blessing. This one, give me a blessing. This one. Especially in the previous generation when there were great giants that were alive. In the Sephardic community, like our great Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, Zechet Tzadik Livracha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu. On the Ashkenaz side, like Moran Arashach, Rabbi Yashiv, and others. I'm not specifically picking any names. So people would flock to them for blessings. Those who were known to be miracle makers, like the Baba Sali, Alachat Kama V'Kama, there was no end to how many people waited. So by some tzaddikim, like the Baba Sali, in general, we saw it very clearly. Whatever he said happened right away. And many other tzaddikim, we saw a lot of things that didn't happen. If anything, it got worse, not better. Vayi hadavar lepeleh. And it bothers people, and sometimes it causes even big questions in Emunah. What do you mean? The rabbi promised me. So first of all, that's why rabbis shouldn't promise. Because, if you're not the Baba Sali, what are you doing this for? If you're not sure, it can come out a big problem out of it. And even if you are sure, Chazal say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like being bossed around. And he's going to take revenge from the person who told him what to do. Hashem doesn't like bosses. Doesn't like when we tell him what to do. You can ask him, but don't tell him. That's why this whole movement of rabbis, in many quotations, or Kabbalists, and many more quotations, that say, Ani gozer. That's not, who are you? Hashem don't want something some way. You could pray, but you're going to go change it. Who do you think you are exactly to change the way of the world? But the Maaseh does make a big question. What happened to Tzaddik Gozer v'Hakadosh Baruch Hu Mekayem? Hashem says that He's going to follow the words of a tzaddik. What happened to the fact that the Torah was nimsera livnei Adam, was given to people, and once we have Korach HaTorah, the Korach HaTorah is Rav LeHoshia, it can bring people a lot of good. What happened to that? And like this, the list goes on. So how do we view a blessing, and when is a blessing going to work, and when is a blessing not going to work? I don't know if this is a subject that's spoken about a lot. I'll tell you the truth, before I spoke about it, I looked a little bit in the recent publications of books, Sfarim that were put out, to see if anybody spoke about it of the current rabbis. And I deliberately felt that they were avoiding the subject. I even checked on different apps that have Torah Shiurim to see if somebody, because maybe it's not so politically correct to discuss. And who are we to voice opinions about these types of subjects? But because I see it bothers people greatly, and many youngsters fell into a lot of traps in life and a lot of confusion in life because of this, I think it is important to address Afal Pikeh. And what we're saying is Hashem Shamayim, Hashem should help that we shouldn't make a mistake and give over the right message. So first of all, I want to challenge the whole question. Who are you to decide who's a tzaddik and who's not, and whose blessing should happen and whose blessing shouldn't happen? It takes one to know one. So if you're such a tzaddik, so then take care of yourself already. And if you're not such a tzaddik, so suddenly you know he's a big rabbi, he's not a big rabbi. What do you know about this? It's like today there's some youngsters that have a big sickness that's called ignorance. I'm not sure if there's a greater sickness in the world than ignorance. Because at that point, you're not really alive. What type of life is it? So even a sickness that's terminal is probably a lot less than ignorance. The Jewish nation lost more people to ignorance than we lost in all the wars of history combined. Somebody who assimilates comes out of ignorance. A boy who doesn't study Torah comes out of ignorance. He's not a bad boy. He just doesn't understand why Torah is important. There's ignorance. It destroyed so many young kids that could have been Talmidei Chachamim. People are doing averot, comes out of ignorance. Ein adam choteh, ela im ken nichnas bo ruach shtut. The person doesn't sin, only if something stupid goes into his head. And like V'al zeh haderech, everything that we go through in life comes out of the same place. So that means really on the altar of ignorance we lose everybody. And if that's the case, that's the greatest tragedy of Am Yisrael. That's the number one disease that exists. So the number one blessing or productive thing that a person can do in his life to help himself is to learn, is to gain knowledge. And first and foremost, knowledge in Torah, knowledge in everything. Because it's important to be a knowledgeable person to know. All those that have questions on God or questions on the Torah, their common denominator is that they're fools. And I say that bluntly and arrogantly. And the reason is how can you challenge the Torah unless you know everything? So go first study the whole Shas, and the whole Tanakh, and all the Poskim, and all Divrei HaMidrashim, and when you're done knowing everything through and understand the Torah al-Buriyah completely, then start asking questions. But until then, today I was under the, I don't know if you can call it the weather or the allergies or something or the other. And I'm not that weather, sorry, forgive me that my voice is not so loud tonight, but there is no voice. This is already me'al derech hateva. So I called a friend of mine who's a doctor and I said, you think I should start antibiotics? He said, yeah. He asked me a few questions. What's bothering you? Go like this, press here, do this, do that. Yeah, it's obviously a sinus infection and could be other things as well. Start an antibiotic. I told him, but I have a question for you, doctor. My head is hurting over here. I'm going to take a pill over here and it's going to go to here. How is here going to help here? I don't want to take it. So he told me, when you'll go to medical school for 8 years, then you'll understand. But until then, don't waste my time. If you want to feel better, take antibiotics. All our wisecracks that have questions on the Torah sound like that. I obviously didn't ask that to the doctor today. But all our guys have questions. They don't understand. I don't understand. Go learn the whole Torah, finish, and then we'll deal with your questions. We'll see what's going on. I don't believe. You don't believe in what? When you don't know, when you don't understand, you're a fool. But those are more souls. They're not bad people. They're souls that were sacrificed on the altar of ignorance. If they would have only studied, then everything would be different. That's why the Gemara says, what's the Gemara's method of kiruv? Today we're very into kiruv. Everybody's into that. How does the Gemara say you're supposed to do kiruv? Ma'or sheba machzireu lemutav. You don't need seminars, you don't need proofs, and you don't need nothing. Because an apikurs is going to stay an apikurs, and it's never going to help. Ma'or sheba, teach him Torah, and the light of the Torah, machzireu lemutav, is going to make him go do the right thing. What do you mean? What does that mean? How does that work? The answer is very simple. The only reason why he's not doing the right thing in the first place is because he doesn't know. If he would know, he would do the right thing. Teach him Torah. Once he knows enough Torah, he'll do the right thing. The Torah talks for itself. It doesn't need to be packaged. It doesn't need favors. The conservative movement, a little over 150 years ago, said that the Torah is not for the modern era. So they wanted to altercate things a little bit. So it should be more accommodating. And like this, they thought it would be more widespread. Today, we barely know any conservative people. There was a conservative shul on Forest Avenue in Lakewood, New Jersey, when I moved there 20 years ago. Today, the building's owned by Lakewood Yeshiva, and there's 1,000 Talmidim sitting and studying Gemara there all day. Why? Because they had no membership. So they closed down. They couldn't even pay the mortgage. They couldn't... what changed? So one of the heads of the conservative movement a few years ago wrote an article to explain it. He said, our lie doesn't work anymore. He admitted it, just like that. He said, because either people are saying, if we could change the Torah, so forget about the whole thing. Who needs it at all? Or, we can change it, and then they go be Orthodox. So conservative has no place anymore. That's what the Chazal say, that before Mashiach comes, B'yimot Mashiach, there's going to be a birur ha'acharon. A very, very fine, v'tziraftim kitzof ha'kesef v'chitzov ha'zahav. Because Baruch Hu is going to do a tziruf, that means a cleansing process to the Jewish nation. And people are going to go either this way or that way. Ein ben David ba'ela bedor shekulo chayav, kulo zakai, kulo chayav. Mashiach won't come until there'll be a generation. It's going to be one way or the other. There's going to be no middle road. And we see it so clearly today. It's either out or b'li ayin hara, to be a Talmid Chacham. And today being a Talmid Chacham is an inyan of pikuach nefesh. But until we get to the level of being a Talmid Chacham, so who are you to decide about the rabbi and about the blessing? Nobody. Sometimes I hear a boy, he's barely 15 years old, and he tells me, I don't agree what Rabbi Yaakov said about this and this. I said, okay, and? So you expect me to even respond to such stupidity? When you'll know 1% of what Rav Ovadia knew in his sleep, then I'll talk to you. But until then, who are you to agree or not to agree? It's like a guy who buys a brand new Maserati and goes to the gas station and he says, fill it up with diesel. So the gas attendant says, it says clearly to put premium unleaded gas. He says, I don't agree with the manufacturer of Maserati. I want to put in diesel. He says, I'll put it in for you, but your engine's not going to start after that. That's all those that don't agree. I don't agree. Sometimes Chazal says something, Shulchan Aruch says something, you don't agree. Good luck, have fun. And I'm telling you from my feeling, I don't know, each person that's involved with Kahal should ask their Gadol. But I think today, it's a waste of time to even argue with these apikosim and fools. Because they don't have the intelligence of people that are worth arguing with them. When they'll get to the level of intellect, it's worth arguing. Are you going to argue with a 3-year-old if he's allowed to run into the street or not? No, you're just going to tell him a fact, don't run into the street. Because if you do, you're going to get run over and it's going to be over. Why? Because a 3-year-old's not capable of having with you a philosophical discussion of statistics and odds versus risk. A guy who didn't study the whole Torah and doesn't know Bavli, Yerushalmi, Sifra, and Sifri by heart and has questions on the Torah is an imbecile that just thinks he is what he isn't. So you're going to waste your time arguing with him? For what? Go learn in that time. Go do something productive in that time. Go make money at least. Go out with your wife to a restaurant. That's also more productive. Why would you even waste time with that? What's damash tashiv la'apikoros? So Avdesla writes already years ago that today there's no apikosim anymore. An apikoros is somebody who knows the whole Torah and has questions on the actual Torah that are intellectual questions. Since today there's one thing, it's called Baalei Ta'ava. It's a generation that has a lot of tests, and everybody's a Baal Ta'ava, and he has desires. So now we need excuses to justify what we want to do. So we're going to look for all different excuses. One of the excuses is, I don't believe or I don't understand. There's a very famous story, I think it happened with Reb Chaim Soloveitchik itself, that he had a student that left the yeshiva and became a Mechalel Shabbat. A few years later, he came back to Reb Chaim and he told him, Rabbi, I have questions. And I remember when I was in yeshiva, he always used to say that you have an answer for every question. I want you to answer my questions. So Reb Chaim said, no problem, but a Jew always answers a question with a question. So I have to ask you a question first. So he said, go right ahead. He said, when did these questions arise? While you were in yeshiva, and as a result of that, you left yeshiva and became a Chalel Shabbat? Or after you left yeshiva and became a Chalel Shabbat, then the questions came about? He said, after I left the yeshiva. He said, I'm sorry, I have no answers for you, and he threw it out. So the guy said, what do you mean? You said you have an answer for everything. He said, for questions, I have answers. But you don't have questions. You have a guilty conscience of why you're a goy, why you're a Chalel Shabbat, why you don't keep anything. So now you're looking for a way to calm your guilt. So your way to calm your guilt is to create questions. So those aren't questions, those are answers. For an answer, there's no answer. The tirutz and tirutz, there's no answer for an answer. I don't have to tell you. Today we don't have questions anymore. We have answers, excuses. I don't want to do this because of that. I don't want to do that because of that. Excuses, yeah, fine, very good. Excuses. So this whole question from the source, I don't think we're qualified to even ask. But because there's an emotional element, a person who's in need and goes to an Adam, Chacham, and gets a blessing, to a certain extent, kind of banks on it. And we don't always see it happen. So to suffice the emotional end of it, even though I am not in any way, shape, or form licensed in mental health, but I'm going to play therapist for a second and try to deal with the emotional aspect of it. I think this week's parasha has a brilliant explanation to this. Chazal HaKadoshim talk about Korach. Korach wasn't, we have a misconception. We view Korach as some gangster, went to fight with Moshe Rabbeinu with some mafia tactics, some sort of godfather. Korach wasn't the godfather, believe it or not. He wasn't from the Gambino family. He wasn't Tony Soprano. He wasn't. Just the opposite. He was one of the Gdolei Yisrael. He was a Talmid Chacham Atzum, a Gaon Olam. There was nothing he didn't know. He knew Torah, Al-Buriyah, he knew everything. Not only did he know everything, he had a thorough understanding of the dynamic of the way the Jewish nation should run, meaning he had leadership qualities as well. It's not some kid who decided one day that he wants to make a scandal. This is somebody who's coming with a real, credible case. And with all of that, he fell into a trap. And the trap was that he had a negiyut that he didn't realize. That means he was biased in a way that he didn't even realize that he was biased. And being biased that way caused him to fall into a trap that we have a mitzvah, you should never be like him. Till today, Hashem Yirachem, I don't know, the Gemara says very graphic things about what his situation is. I'd rather you sleep tonight, so we're going to skip the details, but you can check it up in Chazal. He ended up in the biggest mess ever. The ground swallowed him alive, but not only him, even his belongings. Because anything that he touched, Hashem didn't want anybody to have anything to do with. He went from such a high level to such a low level, spiritually, that even something he touched, even in his objects, even that wasn't. And he wasn't a miserable person. Most people who start rioting are miserable people. Let's, for example, use terrorism. Hashem Yirachem, Hashem Shabbat Shalom Yisrael. Terrorism is a serious problem. Last Friday night, by Kabbalat Shabbat, some girl who, and I'm not getting into whether she should or shouldn't have been in the army, but at the end of the day, she was in the army and she was watching one of the Jerusalem gates, so people can go pray by the Kotel Friday night. One of these Arabs, Yamach Shemo V'Shem Zichro, came and stabbed her, and Hashem Yirachem, it ended up very sad, the story. It was just this week. And like this, a week after week, we had a little bit relatively quiet in Israel for a while, but this goes on all the time. They thought it wouldn't get to other places in the world. Hashem said, you want to condemn Israel all the time? I'll show you it gets everywhere. So this week in the United States, we had in an airport a guy with a knife screaming Allah Akbar and stabbing somebody. In an airport. Place that is, they bedaf go on a show. We'll go to your secure place, the airport, right, secure, and over there we'll show you that you're weak. And it turns out the guy wanted to get a gun. If he would have got a gun, who knows what would have been. Hashem didn't want a big tragedy, I guess he pitied Jewish money because the stock market gets very shaken up at that point. So he had for that. So mankind got saved from what could have been worse. The common denominator, and I am going to admit that there are a few that don't fall into this rule. I'm not going to say 100%. But I'll have the audacity to say in the high 90% of these terrorists have one thing in common, that they're miserable people. They're either poor, uneducated, something else, family issues, they were abused as children, they were abused as adults maybe even, or brainwashed, which is another form of abuse. Because a normal person, his life is good, he's a rich man, he's, a guy who's sitting on some beach in the Hawaiian Islands, enjoying life, surfing half a day, eating the best foods, and has 40 people taking care of all his needs. He's going to go fly to Syria to fight with ISIS? Leave me alone, I'm having a good time, what do I need this for? I don't care, no ideology is going to make him do that. Somebody who's miserable anyway and has no reason to live, so why not risk dying if that's what he believes in? Not the case. And that's one of the many reasons why this is a crisis that never ends, because there'll always be the weaker and those who are, disadvantaged, and there's no real answer for them. And as a result, those are the prime targets to go to. Crime. Somebody who has life set up in a normal way, in a stable life, in a loving life, and he's a healthy, functioning, emotional person, normally doesn't resort to crime. Yes, there are people that resort to white-collar crime because of greed. But beyond greed, other crimes, definitely is not breaking into somebody's car. But a kid who was raised in a place that he's poverty-stricken, and he always dreamt of having an iPhone, and his mother was never able to buy it for him, and one day he walks by your car, you forgot your phone in the car, the probability of him smashing the window to get the phone is much higher. Because his uncomfortable circumstances in life will give him A, less to lose, and B, more of an incentive to obtain what he thinks he'll obtain through whatever crazy way he'll obtain. Korach didn't have a miserable life. As I'll say, Korach was very wealthy too on top of everything. Not only was he a Talmid Chacham, not only was he a respected person, he was also wealthy. He had everything go. Everything was going on. Korach had a deep nigi, and that's why he didn't think he was biased. He said, what bias do I have? Moshe Rabbeinu's rich, I'm rich. Moshe Rabbeinu's a leader, I'm also a leader. I also have a following. Moshe Rabbeinu's a Talmid Chacham, I'm also a Talmid Chacham. He didn't view it as any problem. He viewed it as he's on the right path. Come Chazal Kedoshim and say that's the power of a person that wants kavod, honor, the chase for honor. That you can get so blinded that you don't even see the difference between right and wrong anymore.
SMS from Talia.
It's
SMS from Talia. SMS from Talia.
a good one actually. He was so blinded by his yearning for kavod that he didn't even realize it. His wife was the instigator. On Ben Pellet's wife, on the other hand, did the opposite extreme. She saved him. Now, I want to make another point, just so we understand how great the people that were involved in this machloket of Korach were. How did On Ben Pellet's wife save him? Chazal says she told her husband like this: you have nothing to gain and everything to lose. If Moshe Rabbeinu's right, so you're going to drop dead. And if Moshe Rabbeinu's not right, so Korach's going to be the leader. You, either way, nothing's coming out of you. So why would you want to get involved in something that you're not going to gain from? That's what she told him, right? It's a good case. He was so psyched by Korach's agenda that he didn't even understand that case. So what did he do? What did he do? What did she do, I mean? As I'll say, she saved him with wine. Yeah, believe it or not, you could save a lot of neshamas with wine. She got him drunk. She put him to sleep. Could be in Shalom Bayit classes we have to teach this eitzah. Sometimes the husband comes home from work, he's better off not talking to him. Just get him drunk and put him to sleep and go, right, tomorrow will be a better day. But cheese also could be, according to one opinion of Midrash. Also officially makes you tired. Maybe the calcium element of it, I don't know. That's my commentary already. And then what? So he's drunk, he's in bed. They would have woke him up. She sat by the front porch of her house and she uncovered her hair. She took off her wig. And then what? They came and they saw a lady without a wig and they left. What do you mean they left? I want to ask you something. You should never know. Kid is dead sick. Need a doctor, emergency for a surgery in a hospital. Koach nefesh. Friday night. Call the doctor, he doesn't pick up. Pialacha, you're allowed to get into a car, drive to his house, wake him up to come. Koach nefesh. Now imagine you go into the guy's house, Friday night in your car, it's Koach nefesh, doche Shabbat. You come to the door of the house, his wife answers the door, and her hair is not covered. He said, forget it, I don't need your husband. What do you mean you don't need it? He's going to die. This guy's a doctor. He has to save a life. Wig, not wig, we'll talk about some other day. But right now we have something more important. Korach thought he was doing the right thing. And not just the right thing, l'shem shamayim, for God's sake. So he was on a holy mission. If he was on a holy mission, who cares if Ben Pellet's wife's hair is covered or not now? Second of all, you saw it already. They already saw her. How'd they know her hair was uncovered? Because they saw it. So now just go in and get him. You know what's muchach from here, what's proven from here? That these people were such tzaddikim that they said if a guy could be married to a woman that doesn't cover her hair all the time, we don't want him part of our group. Wow. So at that point they had no interest to go get him anymore. That's how holy they were. That's what extreme they were. And with all that holiness, they went to fight with Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the power of an igiyah of kavod. It means when a person's biased to something, at that point you don't see clearly anymore. It's about what I want, and what makes sense doesn't make a difference anymore. So my dear friends, I want to ask you something. Eleni, you're not feeling well. Only on Sonei said, Eleni, you didn't get married at a young age when you wanted to. I'm not saying you have to get married at a young age, but Hashem had a better plan, obviously. But you thought you should, and you didn't. Well, Eleni, you don't have a job, we should never know. Does that hurt? Of course it hurts. So are you biased? Of course you're biased. So you're never going to see the facts straight. So if you never see the facts straight, where's this question coming from? I prayed, I said Shira Shirim, I went to this rabbi, I got a blessing, it didn't work. It's coming from pain. Realize that it doesn't start the question at that point. Acknowledge the fact of the source. It's coming from a very biased place, and the biased place is a desire for a better life, and Hashem should help you should have an easier life. I didn't say better purposely, because your life can never be better. It's the best every day. But easier it could be sometimes. Realize that that's where it's coming from. Identify the source. And then at that point, it already makes things a lot clearer. But now I want to take it a step further and tell you another big yesod. This yesod is very, very deep. And in our generation, I tell you in advance, halavai, we should be zochet to understand it and to live by it. And that's called, a blessing of a tzaddik is not magic. A blessing of a tzaddik works through a very simple spiritual process. It's called emunat chachamim, the faith in tzaddikim. When a person has faith in a tzaddik, not instead of God, as a messenger of God, so Hashem doesn't disappoint. But today, we go rabbi hopping. On Sunday we ask this guy a question, on Monday that one, on Tuesday the next one. So that's no emunat chachamim. Whoever you want to get the answer from that you want, so that's who you go to. For a girl that doesn't want to fast, she'll call Yaakov before a fast, because I'm very lenient when it comes to women fasting most fasts except for Shabbat and Yom Kippur. But if she wants to go eat not kosher in Starbucks, so then she's going to go to some conservative rabbi who's going to tell her it's kosher. And if she wants to, each one's going to go whatever his agenda is. So you don't have emunat chachamim. I didn't use myself as an example for a chacham. Hopefully one day I'll be, but so far we have a long way to go. It's even in blessings. People come back from Israel. I was in Israel, I went to so many rabbis to get blessings. If you really believed in the Korach of the tzaddik, what do you have to go to so many for? You went to one, you got a blessing, and that's it. What do you have to go to so many for? Elamai, you never believed in the first place that the blessing was worth anything. It's just in style. You didn't think what you were doing. It's cool. You got a picture with this rabbi, a picture with that rabbi. It's a cool thing to do. So we went to this one, and to that one, and to the other one, and the other one, and the other one. Okay, very exciting. For years, even though I was very close to many Gdolei Yisrael, and I'm still in a very, very close relationship to many Gdolei Yisrael. And I make a very big differentiation between Gdolei Yisrael and speakers / rabbis, etc. I'm talking about people like Chaim Kanievsky, Shibadel Chaim Tovim from Rav Shach Zatzal, and many others that I had a personal relationship with, on one level or the other. And I never asked them for brachot. And everybody always thought I was crazy. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy. I never did it. For two reasons. Number one, I think that it's a much bigger schut for me that Rav Shach should have been able to learn an extra 30 seconds than spending time giving me a blessing. So the schut of his extra 30 seconds of Torah, that he didn't have to waste his time on me, I think will bring me a bigger blessing. That was just my instinct. But my reasoning was something else. I had my own Rebbe. I just happened to like a connection with tzaddikim, so I used to go to many tzaddikim to see what I could learn from them. So I went to my Rebbe, I asked him for a blessing once a year before Rosh Hashanah, and that was it. The only time I ever changed that was when my Rebbe specifically told me, go to this one and ask for a blessing. So at that point, I was doing what he said, fine. What does that mean? So listen to that story so maybe we could start grasping that concept, that if you'll take this to heart, you'll realize there's a lot of truth to this. There was once somebody who used to be a big machzik Torah. He wanted to support Torah. And he looked in the shul for one of the big, for Talmid Chacham, somebody who needs it also, to support him, to help him out. Found the guy, said he's going to support him. And he was doing an unbelievable thing. Kol tzorko, anything that person needed, he was supporting. Gave him everything. His bills he paid, his this, he married off his kids for him, he did everything. He also, as a result, became friends with him. They became close. Developed a relationship. And he saw that this guy was an unbelievable person. He was a real tzaddik, a Talmid Chacham, Avodas Hashem. Unbelievable. Now listen to what happened. It's an amazing thing. Listen to what happened. Vahi Hayom, one day, he tells this Talmid Chacham that he's helping out, how did you become who you became? I want to be like you too. How did you become like that? What made you like that? So the Talmid Chacham told him, I have a Rebbe. My Rebbe's a big tzaddik. And I go to my Rebbe, and he brings me closer to Hashem. And my Rebbe taught me a lot of things. And through him, I got closer to Hashem. So he tells the Talmid Chacham, I want to meet your Rebbe. He wants to meet the rabbi's rabbi now. It's a nice thing, no? It sounds cool. So the Talmid Chacham told him, sure, what do you mean? I didn't know you were interested. Now I know. Next time I go, you're coming with me. Vahi Hayom, he's going to his Rebbe, the rabbi that he's supporting is going to his Rebbe, and this guy is tagging along. He comes along, and he goes in and he sees, talking about a Malach Hashem Tzvakot, a holy man. And he observes everything that this the Rebbe's Rebbe does. Everything's perfect. Shulchan Aruch, everything's, he says, perfect as could be. And when he sees that, he says, this is unreal. This is unreal. I want to be like this. Comes back to his house and he tells his wife like this. I'm a businessman. Part of being a good businessman is buying the best product at the cheapest price. If you have two products, one is better and one is less good, and it's the same price, you'll always take the better one. He said, I've been supporting this rabbi. He's a great man, I love him dearly. But I want to get the most for my money. So why should I support him? Starting tomorrow, I'm going to support his Rebbe. So much better, right? Get a better deal for you, a better buck for your money. Unbelievable. He goes and they met, that's what happened. He starts supporting this person's Rebbe. The person didn't say anything, obviously, because what is he? It's not, Hashem sends. Whoever is the shliach is the shliach. But one day, this guy gets sick, and he loses all his money. It's two big Torahs in one shot. He doesn't know what to do, so he's going to go to the rabbi's rabbi for a blessing. So he goes to the rabbi's rabbi to get a blessing. He says, I don't understand. For years I was supporting your student, and my life was beautiful. I was rich, I was healthy, I had a good family. So now I started supporting you, and everything went wrong. I'm sick, and I lost my money. Everything went wrong. Explain me what it means. What's going on? What's the dynamic over here? So listen to this. The Rebbe told him like this. He said, when you went to support my student, you did it b'tmimut, simply. Talmid Chacham sits and learns, needs help, you helped him out. You didn't ask too many questions. So when Hashem saw you doing a mitzvah without asking too many questions, He gave you a blessing without asking too many questions. But then you said, I want to decide. And this one is more worthy than this one. That means I'm greater than my student. And you chose to cut off my student for the sake of supporting me, thinking that I'm greater. He said, so at that point, Hashem said, okay, now let's evaluate how great you are. And he saw that you weren't so he cut it off. What was he telling you? When a person goes with a simple emunas chachamim, so Hashem says, you went with a simple emunat chachamim, I go with a simple blessing for you. You'll get what you need. When a person, in Yiddish we call it an oiber chacham, he thinks he's smarter, so Hashem says, if you're smarter, so figure it out yourself. What do you need me for? You're so smart, figure it out. What do you need me for? When we go into a tzaddik today, and we come out, and he blessed us, and he said, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Do we think a second time? Or does everything feel like it's okay already? We think it's going to work. Now, isn't that a common thing to say? If you hope, so I hope also. But there went the blessing, it went down the drain. But if a person walks out from a tzaddik, and he's a tzaddik just gave me a bracha, that's it, problem solved, Baruch Hashem, Chazdei Hashem. Soon we'll make a Sudat Odayah. Hashem says, so by you it's a fact, so by me it's a fact also. How great Emunat Chachamim is. Emunat Chachamim, obviously, the shoresh, the source, and the purpose, etc., is really for the sake of that the Torah should have a kiyum l'dorot, should have a continuation for generations. But beyond that, without Emunat Chachamim, there's nothing left anymore. Klal Yisrael's continuation, the whole, everything of Klal Yisrael depends on Emunat Chachamim. I want to tell you an interesting feeling that I have. I may have said it in Shiurim before. It's hard to remember what I say where. If Maran Rav Shach Zitzal would be alive today, I'm willing to bet that none of us would have a smartphone. I mean that literally. And I'll prove it to you. Most of the yeshiva world doesn't have TVs at home. And an iPhone is 10,000 times worse than a TV, right? Why? Because years ago when television came out in black and white still, Rav Shach gave one big scream against TV, and that was the end. Everybody was scared. Nobody even thought, it didn't cross anybody's mind to bring TV home. But the generation kept on dwindling, and we lost our Emunat Chachamim. And today, if a rabbi would tell somebody, maybe if you, put a filter on your phone, save your life, he's going to be like, mind your own business. Or you're fired, one or the other. Why? Because the emunus chachomim doesn't exist anymore. That simple understanding that this is the way it should be, that's it, it's gone. People don't understand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave koach biyad hachachamim, I'm talking about by the tzaddikim, the Gedolei Yisrael, to see light years ahead. Unfortunately, one of the things that works against us greatly today is technology, but not in the essence of stupidity and garbage that we see on it. We think that we're already smart, because anything you need to know, you look on Google. So you already think you're Google. And at that point, so the rabbi doesn't have Google, so I know more than him. So he doesn't know about this field. We forget that Chazal say that if a Talmid Chacham says something, even if he's wrong, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to change the nature that it should be like him. He's going to change the nature of the world, that the outcome should be like the Talmid Chacham. Unbelievable thing. Unbelievable thing. Emunus Chachamim is an amazing thing that people have to stick to at any and every extent. If I had to guess, I probably shared this before, but because it's on subject, we'll reshare. Erev Rosh Hashanah 2007, 2 days before Rosh Hashanah, before my Rebbe goes to Uman, I called him to bless him with a Happy New Year. And I didn't do it to bless him, he doesn't even have blessings. When you give a Jew a blessing, he has to bless you back. To ask my Rebbe for a blessing, you know, sometimes he gives, sometimes he doesn't. But if I bless him first, he's going to have to give me back. So it's a trick to get what I want. It's called a manipulative tactic. And it works pretty well. So I called him and I told him, Rebbe, Shana Tova M'vorechek, Tiva v'chatima tova, and anything I wanted that year, I blessed him with. And he told me back 2 words, V'chein lemo, same shit for you. Boom, I got my blessing, exactly what I wanted, customized to my needs. What could be better? It's a good way to do it, no? And then he said, it's good you called, because I was going to try to reach you, and I'm on the way to the airport to leave to Uman, whatever. It's good you called. I said, well, what's so important? He says, what time is it in New York now? So I told him whatever time it was. Afternoon, early afternoon. So he says, so the stock market's still open, right? So I said, yeah. He said, sell everything you got right now. I said, Rebbe, what do you mean sell everything I got? I'm heavily invested. I'm talking about big money. And everything's booming. Every day our percentages of our net value is going higher and higher and higher. Sell. What sell? And he says, listen, if you want your money, sell. If you don't want your money, don't sell. I get you, and he hangs up. That didn't leave much room for negotiation. I'm a little bit old-fashioned, and even though in 2007 most people did most financial transactions on the internet, I still used a brokerage with a broker that I spoke to on the phone. Even though it cost more, I just don't know. I'm old-fashioned. I like doing things the old-fashioned way. And I called my broker, an Israeli guy, and I told him, sell everything. And he said, what are you, crazy? Are you nuts? For what? He says, you're up a couple 100% on your money this year alone. Are you crazy? Every pick you made was right so far. I said, sell everything. I said, and every second that's going by is getting me nervous now, so do it quickly. And he tells me, what, are you on a suicide mission? I said, if I was committing suicide, what do I care if my money's in the market or out? No, I'm on a mission to live. That's what I'm telling you to do it. So he says, listen, you're the customer. The customer's always right. That's what you want. Fine, but I don't know. It's just weird. And he starts asking me, maybe we'll sell just the profit, not the thing. Or maybe we'll sell the initial investment, not the profit. Maybe this, maybe that. And he's like this going on and on and on. That. And I got upset already, and I told him, listen, you work for me or I work for you? You work for me. Sell, goodbye, enough. Calls me back a few minutes later, so here's the finance, these are the numbers, these are the figures. Whatever. He says, when are you going back into the market? I said, after Kippur, not before after Kippur. So he tells me why. I said, I don't know. He said, what does that mean you don't know? I said, I don't know. He said, so why'd you sell? I said, I don't know either. He said, what is this? Russian roulette? You just one day decided? I said, no, it's actually a lot. I said, Russian roulette is 1 out of 6 is a bullet. There's 100% a bullet over here. So he tells me, what's the bullet? Maybe I'll sell also. I said, I have a Rebbe, he lives in Israel, this is his name. Let me tell you his qualifications. He never went to any financial university. I don't even think he knows the name of the New York Stock Exchange. He definitely doesn't know anything about banking. He speaks a few words in English, by now more. Then it was only a few words in English. And he's a Breslover, he's going to Uman. And right now he's on his way to Uman. And he told me to do it, and when he says something, I do it, I don't ask questions. Whether I understand or not, that's my problem, not his. So he tells me, this Israeli, you Charedim with your craziness. That's what he told me, you Orthodox Jews with your craziness. The guy never went, he doesn't know anything. You're saying yourself he doesn't know anything. I said, yeah, but it's called 2 words. I told him, his first name was Kobe, this broker. I said, Kobe, remember this. Emunat Chachamim. He said, Emunat Chachamim sounds good, but I don't know what that means. Have a good day. I'm sure those of you who are a little bit older remember that 48 hours later, the market tanked 770 something points in one day, Erev Rosh Hashanah. And many people lost everything they had. And I wish I would have understood what the Rebbe really said, sell and buy short. Because then that would have been even a better story to say over. And I know a different Jew that his Rebbe told him the same thing half a day after my Rebbe told me that. And he told him to buy short. And the amount of money that guy made in those few days, I think he had a pretty happy Rosh Hashanah that year. Unbelievable thing. Was anybody able to predict that that's going to happen and so quickly? Everybody said there was a bubble, it may go down a little bit, 5%, 10% at one point, but one day everything's collapsing, boom, gone. The financial stocks that are worth over $100 will be worth $2 in a day, in 2 days. Nobody would fantasize. No analyst in the world would dream of such a thing. Did the rabbis know? They didn't know. Because Baruch Hu gave us Yad D'Shmaya to Tzaddikim, that they have instincts, and then he turns the nature around to make their instincts right. I'll tell you a story from last year, like B'Omer time. Last year, like B'Omer, before like B'Omer, we were in Israel, and we went into the Rabbi. Spent about a half a day with him, maybe a little more. Spoken, learning and different things. Before we left, he gave blessings to everybody. Should be blessed with this, blessed with that. And when it came me, I'm always the last one. I wait for last. I think it's being polite. So say he blesses me, regular, just the nachat from your kids, whatever, and good health, be protected. And then he says, and Zchut of Shimon Bar Yochai should watch over for you that you should travel safely. I said amen, and it was weird to me, like what does that have to do with anything now? So I thought he meant the flight. I said, Rebbe, I'm flying another few days from now. Hopefully I'll get to see you again before then. So he said, Hashem Shahab Rab Shimon Bar Yochai should save you from all harm. What was that? The whole thing was weird, but okay. Blessing never hurts, right? I said amen, and I left. It was me and another guy that night decided we're going to the grave, that evening, we're going to the grave of Shmuel HaNavi, near after Ramot. Went to the grave, we prayed, we finished, we came out, then we had to make, from where the hill of Shmuel HaNavi is, a left turn out the intersection to go back to the main part of Jerusalem, to the center of the city. There's no traffic light there. It's a highway, people drive pretty fast on the road. I looked left, I looked right, the road was clear. So I started going out. I was already halfway through the intersection. And from there I don't remember anything. But all I know is my car ended up moving back, not getting hit, and some other car went flying and there wasn't much left of the car. And the person got very, very severely injured. It's the whole scene. We assumed that the guy must have swerved around not to hit us or something like that, but it didn't make sense. Because we were already out all the way in the intersection. We were halfway through. So where did he swerve to? He didn't. When the cops came, we were trying based on the skid marks to figure out what happened. They couldn't figure anything out. They said, it doesn't make sense. The story doesn't add up here. And I said, you weren't hit. You're not involved in the accident. Get out of here. They took that guy to the hospital. I hope he's well and okay. And that was that. A few days later, we went back to the Rebbe, and I told him the story. And he said, yeah, that's what I told you before you left. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai should pull your car back, so you shouldn't take the impact of a car going 90 miles an hour. How great is the words of tzaddikim. Hashem gives them a chush, a power, to see what we don't see, to feel what we don't feel, and to determine how to go about it. We all want to be blessed today. And the answer to be able to live a blessed life is these two words, emunat chachamim. If you have a Rebbe and you have emunas chachamim, but real emunas chachamim, as Chazal say, afilu al smol shu yamin v'yamin shu smol, even if to you it makes no sense whatsoever, then you'll do well. B'olam hazeh and in olam haba. And if you don't live like that, then it's lost before it started. It's a lost cause. Because there's a person's bias. Adam karov etzel atzmo. And you can never see the real truth about things. You know, al pi halacha, and maybe we should walk away with at least this change. If you already asked one Talmid Chacham a question, you're not allowed to ask another one. Number one, you're wasting his time. You already got an answer. Number two, what happens if he answers you a different answer? So now you're going to start debating with yourself, who's right? And then from there, going downhill comes very, very quickly. Now listen to the Ruach HaKodesh HaGdolei Yisrael. Bli neder, if I remember, last night I wasn't home, and today I was sick with Tzorchei Mitzvah, but so I wasn't able to bring the Sefer with me. Bli neder, next week, if I remember, I'll try to bring you the Sefer because I want you to see the original. But approximately 150 years ago or so, there was a commentary written al Hashas that it's very hard to find this printed as an individual Sefer. But Oz V'Adah put out a Gemara called Metifta, and in the back they print many Sfarim al Hashas that weren't printed so commonly. On the Gemara that says, Ein ben David ba ad shetichle pruta min hakis, which the literal translation of it means is Mashiach won't come until people will be poor. People won't have money. They won't have a dollar in your pocket. This Sefer is bothered. What does that mean? Just the opposite. First of all, there's many Midrashim and Chazal that say that the Jews will be actually very rich beyond the Mashiach. And we see it clearly happening today. Jews are wealthy in a way that there never was in history. And more than that, even recently there was an article in one of the famous financial magazines, a very respectable article, that was making global financial calculations, and they predict that by 2028, Israel is going to be the wealthiest country in the entire world, more than the Emirates, more than all of them. Between being a technology empire and an energy empire with all the energy that they found on the ground now. So we look like we're on the road to being very rich, not poor at all. So what does it mean? Ein ben David ba, ben David's not coming, based on that, Mashiach's not coming. So in this Sefer he says, I'll show next week inside of Lineda, that he heard from, he says exactly who, I don't remember all the names by heart, his Rebbe, you heard from his Rebbe, he says exactly the connection, going back a few hundred years, who got this pshat from Eliyahu Hanavi himself. Not a bad way to learn. Eliyahu Hanavi explained this Gemara. What's Eliyahu Hanavi's explanation of this Gemara? He said, Ein ben David ba, if you want to know what the last generation before Mashiach comes is going to look like, he says, Puta doesn't mean money. Puta is minashon pratiyut, privacy. Ad shetichle puta, and kis, there's a pasuk that says that a heart is called a kis, meaning a person's life is called a pocket. There'll be no privacy left in the world. Everything will be public knowledge. A few hundred years ago, if you would have told somebody there'll be no privacy, what do you mean no privacy? The guy left to work in the morning, nobody knew where he is and when he's coming back and if he's coming back. The world was as private as could be. Today, New York City is like one big brother TV show. Every 3 inches another camera. Your cell phone has a tracking device on it. The government monitors every step that you make. You talk, they hear it. You write, they read it. There's no privacy anymore. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you're being followed in a crazy way. Recently, there's just to show you how far it goes. They busted a guy, Baruch Hashem, they busted him. He was a drug dealer here in the area. They should bust all the drug dealers here in the area. Maybe that would help part of this problem. And had they get the guy, they were after him for a while, following him, this, that. They wanted to get him, 100%. They got a subpoena that they're allowed to bug his car. How did they bug his car? His car was made by GM and it has something in it called OnStar. They subpoenaed OnStar to leave the thing open all the time so they could hear what's going on in his car. So this guy took all the precautions in the world. He didn't talk on a cell phone, he didn't this, he only did transactions in person. Hashem Yirachim, a real criminal, right? He was a professional criminal. But where was his hideout to do his transactions? In his car. Little did he know exactly that's what's going to give him this trouble. And it's like it's a no-brainer conviction. The evidence is there, the recordings are there, everything's there, and have a good day. That means even in your own car there's no privacy anymore. There's no privacy anywhere anymore. Wherever you are at any moment. Ein ben David ba, Mashiach won't come, ad shetichle putam nakis, until the person's going to be in a situation and there's no privacy. And a lot of our privacy we sacrifice voluntarily. Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter,
and all the other weapons that kill Jewish souls every day. The arsenal, the chemical warhead that kills Klal Yisrael. Blogs, this, that, there's no end. The whole arsenal that kills the Jews. That's all. That's a Nivuah and Chazal. Who would think that Chazal, how could you predict such a thing? The answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Chazal HaKadoshim 2,000 years ago, Ruach HaKodesh. That they were able to see how the generations are going to develop. If you want to know what this I'm ending, why is it like that? What does one have to do with the other? So the Chavetz Chaim says a very interesting thing. He says that the reason why it's going to be like that is that it should be a chizuk for emunah. So the generations before Mashiach, the test of emunah is going to be very hard. And Hashem knows that. And he's scared that the Jews won't hold out with the test. So to help them, that they should be able to pass the test of emunah, he made that there should be no privacy in the world. And everybody should be able to hear, see, video, and publicize anything. And if that's what man can do, Kal V'chomer Hashem can do that. If the government can track you, obviously God can see what you're doing. And that would be a way that a person can overcome his Yetzer Hara to do the right thing at the right time. I am going to break everything I believe in right now, because I was asked to do so by my Rebbe. I don't normally talk about Mashiach or future or anything of the sort in any way, shape, or form. But I spoke about Emunat Chachamim, so what I'm doing here is against everything I understand, but it's 100% out of Emunat Chachamim. In my last discussion with my Rebbe, he told me, you have to start talking openly, the Mashiach's coming very soon, and that we're running out of time, and that Klal Yisrael should be ready, and not because it's going to be disaster, and that, no, it'll be Simcha Gdolah B'ezrat Hashem. It'll be the greatest joy. This is what we were waiting for all these years. But still, a person could get more mitzvahs, so why not? Why not have more before? And then he tried to explain it, al derech HaKabbalah, in all different ways, and honestly, I don't know anything about that, so I didn't understand. So that part is still a mystery to me. Maybe one day I'll ask him to re-explain it to me on a level that I can get it, and then I'll be able to share that part as well. But I don't like talking like this. It's not my style. Just the opposite. When people talk this way, it irks me a little bit. Because Nachman clearly said we shouldn't talk this way. But I think maybe it's a little bit has to do with this. And we got to such a point that we see all the Nebuot of Chazal clearly as black and white as could be. So that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, grab the last chizuk. And the last chizuk the Klal Yisrael needs, of course, first and foremost, is an Ahavat Yisrael. But that we talked about for years and years straight already. And the second one, I think, is, I'm not even saying emunah, because emunah, somebody who doesn't believe, is a meshuggah. I don't talk to crazy people. It's emunat chachamim. It's to understand that Hashem gave the tzaddikim a power, and that everybody should be close to a tzaddik, and the schus of the tzaddik will protect him, and like this, he'll do the right thing, make the right choices, and will grow in the right way, Be'ezah Hashem. Hashem should help that the whole Kahal Kadosh, Be'ezah Hashem, should have a happy and healthy and successful life. Be'ruchaniyut u'gashmiyut, u'b'chol asher tifnu, taskilu v'tatzlichu. It's Erev Rosh Chodesh tonight, right? Today was called Erev Rosh Chodesh because of the way Rosh Chodesh comes out. But the Etzim, tonight's Erev Rosh Chodesh. Erev Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. Abotai, you know what that means, Erev Rosh Chodesh Tammuz? It's going to be Rosh Hashanah soon. Tammuz is Rashi Tevot, Zman Tshuva Memashmesh Uba. Right? Tammuz, Zman Tshuva Memashmesh Uba. The time of Tshuva is coming, be ready. 90 days before your wedding, do you start buying things and booking a hall and this and that? Sure. So 90 days before Rosh Hashanah, that's it. The clock is ticking. You got to come ready for Rosh Hashanah. It's time to go. It's time to get going. And I think I'll tell you a good thing right, the summer is a big nisayon for everybody. The teenagers are off from school. Shem Yirach, and I never understood that. Before Hashanah, they get off. To do what? For 10 weeks? To roam the streets? To do what? See nothing? What? Adarab, let them give them off in February. Elamai, what's the answer? This is not done for no reason. This is done for a good reason. And because they want the yeshiva boys to be able to learn, so before El, they figure we'll give them a break. They should get new energy. So El, they can give it all they got. That's the reason. But in not the whole world, but in a large part of the world, the climate for 3 months before Rosh Hashanah is very hot. And normally the minhag is in the United States of America and in other places, in Europe and other places, that the hotter it gets, the more you forget to get dressed. That's the minhag hamakom. Each one forgets whatever it is. We're going to learn about it in the next few weeks a little bit. And that's a big nisayon, right? That's the test of our generation. Shmirat einayim, Hashem Yirachim, Hashem should save us. We should be able to be zochet to get to even a drop of that. One drop of it is worth it. So to me, it's like almost not fair. Exactly before Rosh Hashanah it should be hot. That's like giving me the bad end of the deal. Before Rosh Hashanah it should be cold, so it'll be easier. After Rosh Hashanah, then we'll deal with the heat already, we'll see. You know, the answer is very simple. In a dark room, a tiny light makes a big difference. In a light room, you turn on 10 more lights, big deal. It's already light. What's going to, like the Gemara says, Shraga b'tir avaya hani. And a candle in a lit up place doesn't help anything. So dafka before Rosh Hashanah, because Baruch Hu makes it, there should be big tests and big nisyanot. So like this, a person who overcomes himself, even one tiny drop, it's worth so much more because of the spiritual darkness that gives him a big schus for Yom Adin. So I say what I say every year, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. I'm sure everybody has some sort of plan to go on vacation, to go here, to go there. The Gemara says, "Ika dadka achina nikra rasha." If a person goes to a place that has plitzut, and he could have went to a place that doesn't have it, even if he didn't see anything wrong, he's still called a Rosh. Because why'd you put yourself on a test? So think very good before you pick your vacation destinations. There should be a place, al Taharat HaKodesh, a place the way al Pi Halacha. And we're not lacking places like that. The world is full of beautiful places, and to go to a place of nature is a mitzvah, according to the Rambam, could be even a mitzvah d'oraita. Could be according to the Rambam, it's even a mitzvah d'oraita to go see. You see, Chazal say, Ro'et hayam hagadol, you make a brocha, and that, so there is something to it. And one of the beautiful things the Gemara says is that for everything not kosher in the world, Hashem gave a kosher alternative. So nobody should tell me there's nothing to do or nowhere to go. Because the Gemara says otherwise, and if I have to choose opinions, I'm choosing the Gemara's opinion. So that means every not kosher vacation destination that you want to go to, God made a kosher one instead. So pick the kosher ones. That's the job right now. And for the yeshiva boys amongst us, or for those who learn in chadarim or schools or whatever, ashrechem v'atov chelkechem, but that it's been azmanim or vacation time now, it doesn't mean Moshe Rabbeinu fell asleep. It doesn't mean the Torah fell asleep. It just means that instead of learning in a class with a Rebbe, you learn with a chavrusa. That's all it means. You learn lighter things, easier things. But learning, you have to learn. You have to be a kovei dima Torah. And for the girls that don't have school and whatever, so to read more Tehillim, to learn more halachot, I don't know what, to go to a few more classes maybe. Tehillim probably is the best choice of the three that I just said. And these are important things. Tammuz, man tshuva, memashmeh shuvah, it's the time of tshuva. And v'vadai, if we get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets closer to us. As we said last week or 2 weeks ago, when we concede our will to God's will, He Kavyachol concedes His will to our will, meaning things go right. So that means when you sacrifice something that's important to you, because the halacha says otherwise, Hashem will sacrifice any judgment that's on you because you want otherwise. Remember that. That's a very important thing. We should see a lot of simcha in life. Amen. Amen.